It usually begins with something small, a quick glance at your phone before bed, a moment of curiosity, a harmless scroll. You tell yourself, just 5 minutes. But suddenly, the room is dark except for the glow of the screen, and an hour has disappeared. The feed never ends. Photos of friends smiling on vacations you weren't invited to. Strangers showing off lives more glamorous than your own. Arguments you didn't start but somehow feel compelled to join. A constant flood of opinions, jokes, outrage, and praise. And beneath it all, a whisper inside you asks, "Am I enough?" You don't remember choosing to ask this question, but the algorithm seems to plant it there every day. Every like, every comment, every silent view becomes a measure of your worth. You close the app, but the echo lingers. Why didn't that post get more attention? Should I share more? Should I be louder? Should I be different? This is the strange paradox of social media. We are more connected than ever, yet many of us feel lonelier, smaller, and less grounded. We present carefully curated versions of ourselves, but inside we feel fragile, anxious, uncertain. And sometimes, when the noise gets too loud, we wonder, what would it be like to live without this constant flood? How would I see myself if no one else were watching? It turns out, someone asked those same questions nearly 2,000 years ago. His name was Marcus Aurelius. He ruled the most powerful empire in the world, yet wrote words not for others, but only for himself. Words that remind us what it means to stay steady when the world outside is chaotic. Marcus Aurelius was no ordinary man. He was emperor of Rome, the most powerful figure in the known world. Armies obeyed his command, senators bowed to his word, and history would forever remember his reign. And yet when we look at what he left behind, we don't see speeches meant to impress. We don't see propaganda or self-glorification. What remains are private notes, written in the quiet of night to remind himself how to live. These notes, later called meditations, were never meant to be published. They were Marcus speaking to Marcus. Not the emperor, not the public figure, but the human being behind the crown. He wrote about humility, about staying calm in the face of insult, about resisting vanity and pride. He wrote to himself about the futility of chasing fame, the emptiness of praise, and the shortness of life. It is striking when we think about it. Marcus Aurelius held more followers than anyone alive today could imagine. His influence was global before the concept of global even existed. And yet he kept warning himself, do not waste your life chasing reputation. Do not give your peace away to the opinions of others.
If Marcus were alive in the age of social media, he might not have been the one posting. He might have been the one closing the app, reminding himself that the approval of strangers is nothing compared to the approval of one's own conscience. Stoicism, the philosophy Marcus practiced, is built on this foundation, that we cannot control what others think of us, but we can control our thoughts, our choices, our character. And that is where his wisdom speaks so loudly to our time. In a world obsessed with likes and views, Marcus Aurelius points us back inward, away from the noise, toward the still center of the self. When we hold Marcus Aurelius's words against the reality of social media, the parallels are uncanny. The same struggles that consumed the Roman emperor are the struggles consuming us today, only dressed in new clothes. The illusion of fame and likes. Marcus often wrote about the fleeting nature of reputation. He reminded himself, Fame is but smoke, today celebrated, tomorrow forgotten. Social media amplifies this truth. One viral post can make you feel untouchable, but the next day, the crowd moves on. The likes vanish, the applause fades, and you are left hungry for the next hit of attention. Stoicism warns us, to build your happiness on the opinions of others is to build on sand. The ground will always shift beneath you. Marcus would say, your worth is not measured by their applause, but by the quality of your soul. The trap of comparison. Scrolling through curated lives, we inevitably compare ourselves. We feel smaller, less beautiful, less successful. Marcus anticipated this too. He wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. Instead, learn to be content with the present you are given." Comparison is poison. Stoicism teaches that your task is not to match another's life, but to live your own with virtue and clarity. The discipline of reaction. Perhaps the most corrosive feature of social media is outrage. Posts designed to provoke, comments meant to sting, endless arguments that pull us into cycles of anger. Marcus saw this in Rome's politics and wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." A tweet, a headline, a rude comment, none of these are within our control. What is within our control is our response. Do we lash out? Do we let anger dictate our words? Or do we hold our ground, choosing reason over impulse? Retreating into the inner citadel. Marcus often described an inner citadel, a fortress inside the mind where one could retreat and find stillness. This is where he reminded himself of what truly mattered: virtue, humility, gratitude. For us, that citadel is threatened daily by constant notifications, endless feeds, and dopamine-driven design. Yet Marcus's words are a reminder that even in chaos, we can step back, we can put the phone down, we can breathe, reflect, and guard our inner life. Humility in the age of performance. Social media tempts us to perform, to craft an image, to exaggerate, to seek recognition. Marcus, standing atop the Roman world, reminded himself that he was mortal, no different than any other man, subject to decay and death. He said, "Alexander the Great and his mule driver both died, and the same thing befell them." This radical humility is the antidote to performance culture. When we remember that time erases all names, the compulsion to prove ourselves online loses its grip. Practical Stoic practices for social media. So how might we actually apply Marcus's wisdom in our daily scrolling? Pause before posting. Ask, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Limit comparisons. Remind yourself, what you see is not reality, only fragments. Control reactions. When provoked, remember, silence is sometimes stronger than words. Guard your citadel. Create intentional space away from the feed to hear your own thoughts. Measure worth inwardly. Your value is not in followers, but in your integrity. In all these, Marcus's voice echoes across centuries, whispering to us the same reminders he whispered to himself. Stay steady, stay humble, stay free from the chains of others' opinions.
In the modern world today, millions wake up and check their phones before they even rise from bed. Teens measure popularity by numbers on a screen. Adults feel pressure to maintain a digital identity as polished as a resume. Mental health struggles, from anxiety to depression, are rising alongside screen time. Social media itself is not evil. It connects families, spreads knowledge, raises voices for justice. But without discipline, it becomes a thief of time, of peace, of self-respect.
Here is where Stoicism feels almost prophetic. Marcus Aurelius didn't have Instagram, but he knew the dangers of chasing applause. He didn't face Twitter, but he knew how anger spreads like wildfire. He didn't know algorithms, but he knew that what we feed our minds shapes the lives we live. In many ways, Stoicism is digital minimalism 2,000 years ahead of its time. It asks us, what is within your control? What noise can you let go of? Where can you reclaim stillness? For the modern person, this doesn't mean deleting every app. It means using them as a tool, not as a master. It means remembering, as Marcus wrote, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. If time is short, why waste it chasing approval that fades overnight? Imagine if, instead of curating for others, you wrote for yourself. Imagine if, instead of scrolling endlessly, you turned inward, even for a few minutes, to ask, what kind of person am I becoming? That is the invitation of Stoicism in the digital age. Not rejection, not escape, but discipline. To remain sovereign over your own mind, even when the crowd clamors loudly outside. Marcus Aurelius once ruled the vast Roman Empire, yet his greatest empire was not Rome. It was the small kingdom within his own mind. He left us a reminder that true strength is not in commanding armies or winning praise, but in commanding oneself. He wrote in private, not for fame, but to preserve clarity in a world filled with noise. We too live in a noisy world. Ours is digital, his was physical, but the battle is the same: to remain unshaken by the opinions of others, to live by inner truth rather than outer applause. So perhaps the question is not, should I quit social media, but rather, how do I remain free while using it? If Marcus Aurelius were alive today, maybe he wouldn't tell you to delete your apps. Maybe he would simply tell you this: be the emperor of your own thoughts. Rule your mind, or be ruled by it. The screen will always call for your attention, but your attention is the most precious thing you own. Guard it well. And remember, the number of likes you receive will vanish, but the quality of your thoughts will remain. The wisdom of the past is not meant to stay in dusty books. It is meant to be lived, here and now, in the small choices we make each day. If you found a moment of clarity in these words, consider staying with us on this journey. This channel is a place where old voices meet modern life, where ancient truths speak to our digital age. Subscribe, not for me, but for yourself, for more reminders, more reflections, more seeds of thought to carry with you in the quiet moments. Because sometimes, one sentence can change the way you see the world.